Buying a condo can be a great investment if you do it right. So today we'll talk about how to do it right and some things to look out for in terms of condos. I'm Stacey Ryle. This is the place to be to grab some coffee and learn everything you need to know about buying your first home. I'm in Philadelphia and it's August and it's really hot, so I'm drinking some cold brew today, so cheers. So first, we have to talk about what is a condo. So a condo is basically what you would think of as an apartment, except you own it instead of you rent it. So there can be condo buildings with hundreds of units in it, like a huge high-rise building, and there can also be, what you think of as a single-family home split into 3 units that each have individual owners. But either way, when you own a condo, you own inside the walls. Typically, there is shared property that everyone who is a part of the condo owns together. Condo fees cover the cost of maintaining the common area. Different buildings have different types of common areas. So if you are in a large building that maybe has a doorman or a woman, you have to pay that door person. Or if it has an elevator or a pool or a gym, your condo fees are going to be much higher if the only common area is a hallway or maybe some yard space. So if you're looking at one of the bigger buildings that has a lot of amenities like a gym and a pool and an elevator, you're typically going to be looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $1,000 and sometimes more. If you have a more simple building where maybe it's just a couple of units and you're just sharing a hallway or maybe a mailbox area, then you're probably looking at $100 to $300 a month. I'm coming alive. For us to know if this is a good investment or not, we need to look at your goals. Is your goal to have a high resale value whenever you're ready to move on, or do you want to rent out the property? First, let's talk about resale value. The first thing that you can do to determine whether the home has a good resale value is to look at the building online. So are there a lot of other units for sale that have been for sale for a while, or does it seem kind of hard to find something for sale in the building? Does anything that comes up listed for sale sell really quickly? If there are a lot of units for sale and they're just kind of sitting on the market, then it might be an indicator that the resale value is not great. And we'll talk about a couple of reasons why that might be in a moment. Number 2, you need to look at whether there is a market for that type of condo or not. And this involves looking at the size and the location. So of course, studio and 1 bedrooms are going to have a much smaller market than maybe 2 bedrooms. But at the same time, you're catering to a different price point where there might be more people who are looking for studios or 1 bedrooms. And decide whether you live in an area where there are a lot of people who are looking for studios and 1 bedrooms. So for example, urban areas where maybe there's a lot of students or graduate students or recent graduates who would be happy with a 1 bedroom, that might be a great area for a 1 bedroom condo. But if you maybe live in a more rural area or suburban area where there's not a lot of single people, then it might be tougher to resell a 1 bedroom just because there's simply not a lot of single people in that area. Really look at the location and size and kind of put yourself in the shoes of a buyer 5 years or 10 years from now, whenever you're ready to sell. Do you think there will be a lot of buyers at that point? One of the biggest factors of resale value that a lot of people do not know about is warrantability. Warrantability is basically whether a condo can be financed with a conventional mortgage or not. This has to do with the condo association's finances and ownership. If a building is non-warrantable, lenders have determined that units in that building are too much of a risk to lend to, either because there's too many investor owners or there's too many of the same owners. So if they default, then the building is going to be at risk, or because maybe there's delinquent taxes or something with the finances that make it a risk for lenders. If a building is warrantable, it means that you can get a conventional mortgage for that building and potentially an FHA mortgage as well. If a building is non-warrantable, it means that a lot of buyers will not be able to get a mortgage for that building, which lowers your pool of buyers. And it also is a huge risk to people who are buying there, which makes the resale value much, much lower. It's just going to be so much harder to resell, and then therefore your value is going to be much lower. If you're someone who wants to keep your condo as a rental, first of all, love that. We have a condo that we rent out and it's amazing. But number 1, you have to make sure that the condo association rules allow you to rent it out. So different associations have a lot of different rules, so you really need to find out, especially if you want to Airbnb. Like our condo building does not allow Airbnb, so you need to find that out. Number 2, you want to check the rental rate. So normally you can just go on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever you want to go to see how much units in that building are rented. renting for. And then of course you want to make sure that after your condo fees and your property taxes and all of that, whatever you'd be paying for your mortgage, you would get at least that, hopefully more in rent. And then of course, the biggest question with condos is the condo fees. As we discussed, this is going to vary by the condo. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with paying those fees on top of your monthly mortgage. But before you rule out any condos, you want to make sure that you are aware of what the condo fee covers. So for example, our condo, the condo fee is a little high. It's around $500, except it covers a gym and all of our utilities, including cable. At the end of the day, it seems like a really high number, but it's really not too bad because we're saving so much money on utilities. Another thing to keep in mind is that interest rates are typically higher with condos than with single family homes, simply because it's a higher risk for the lender because there are so many other people who could affect your unit and your unit's finances. And if you're buying in a non-warrantable condo, which means that you cannot get a conventional mortgage, your interest rate is definitely going to be higher and you're going to need to put more down. Overall, I love condos if you're looking for low maintenance living or something more affordable, but you really need to do your research to make sure that it is a good purchase.